yeah, okay, let's get a device.
Now, often you'll see me
System in place.
post videos. Some of them humorous, some of them not, some of them critical of some of the things that CIG has done. And one of the things that I've kind of kept a weather eye on is the idea of world PvP. It's something that obviously interests me greatly, and I hope that CIG does it right. So recently, I began a little video project on the side, which you're about to see.
Oh my God, that's, you know.
Originally, the idea is I was going to take footage from, of course, Battle for Azeroth, which is, of course, the great world PvP expansion. Everyone was looking forward to it. This was going to be the grand confrontation between the Alliance and the Horde. Players were going to be turning on these PvP flags, and they were going to be battling. And I said, you know what? There could be some interesting parallels to draw from this. This could be an interesting kind of case study, like what happens when you have all these players flagged for PvP, confronting one another for objectives, for resources. How could this all play out? And are there any lessons to take away from this? Interestingly enough, there were, but not the lessons that you would think that you would draw from this, like strategies, ideas, how to group up, how to find the right people to play with, that sort of thing. These were the things that I was hoping to pull away from this. Different ways of organizing your groups, different methodologies, strategies. These were the things that I was looking for in this. And so I was collecting a ton of footage. However, what happened was a bit of a surprise. Welcome to about a month and a half post-launch. I think this footage is about 3 or 4 days old at this point. This is world PvP now. This is it. I have a mission. Kill 10 Alliance players in the region of Vol'dun. To this day, I have still not completed this quest, nor made any progress on this quest. Because even though I am flagged for PvP, there is none to be had. Surely, you know, you're wrong, Minion. You're wrong. I mean, this is Blizzard. This is a top tier company. These are the guys who are responsible for Diablo, for World of Warcraft itself, for Wrath of the Lich King, for Overwatch, for StarCraft, for all these games. These guys know what's up. These guys know how to build a game. You're wrong. I mean, certainly there must be quest objectives that are PvP based, that just drop rewards right, left, and center on the players, that incentivize them to go out and fight these battles and to fight these epic confrontations between the Alliance and the Horde, to bring this war to life in the game. Certainly. And I'm speeding up the footage here at this point, because this is going to represent a half an hour of running around looking for PvP in a Horde zone. And then we're going to go on to an Alliance zone after that. You know what the incentive was for world PvP? To flag yourself as being always open to attack by members of the other faction? 10% bonus to quest rewards. 10 lousy percent. It's a joke. It is comedic in its stupidity and tragic at the same time. Who thought of this? Well, some of the best game developers out there, apparently. This is so unbelievably stupid. I mean, think about it. I mean, I'm actually going out and herbing because I figure, you know what? I might as well make a little gold on the side, because obviously the PvP action is going to be pretty damn slow. And TBH, this is the PvP action. This is it. I'm just trying to find an enemy to kill. I need to kill 10 of them in this zone. And there's absolutely none to be had. They're not here because there's no reason for them to be here. There's no reason for this confrontation. There's no drive that brings them into this battle. And you know, this is one of a myriad of issues with this expansion. I mean, originally when I tried to make this video, I realized that this was going to be about a 45-minute video having to deal with a game that is not Star Citizen, so it just wasn't going to work. And I kind of went into depth about all the features of this expansion and why they are not working. But I wanted to come back to the world PvP point because this was originally where I wanted to go with this video, and so this is how I was able to kind of chop things down. When you look at a game universe and you look at the idea of world PvP, certainly the idea of world PvP with asset loss, there has to be a big incentive to do it. There really has to be, because most players don't want to be bothered with that sort of thing. Now, there's certain players that are going to go out there and who are just going to want the thrill. There are going to be players who enjoy games like DayZ, who certainly have a hard loss and a hard death mechanic, and they're, in the end, there kind of really isn't an objective to them other than to survive as long as you can. And in the end, what do you really get? What do you really accumulate? Does that really work in, say, a Star Citizen environment? I don't know. I'm not too sure that it will. When I see something like this, when I see world PvP done absolutely wrong, I feel that, you know, this is something that needs to be highlighted, is it has to be incentivized. And beyond something just a simple title or amount, there has to be a definite reward to this sort of thing. And without it, this is the result. I mean, think about it. This is supposed to be the battle for Azeroth. This is supposed to be the titanic confrontation between these two great armies. And look at it. I mean, this is an Alliance base right down here. This is one of their bases. Where are the Alliance players? They're not here. Because very early on, I guess enough players had seen confrontations where there were too many Horde players and they were losing. And they, you know, instead of going, you know what, we got to get together, we got to get organized, we got to get out there. No, they just said, F this, I'm turning it off, and I'm not bothering. I mean, believe me when I tell you this, I mean, when you're watching all this footage, I'm going to show you the Alliance player that I found. And trust me, it's very much a situation of blink and you'll miss them. But I'm basically running around with total impunity. Like, nothing can touch me right now. And this is not what it's supposed to be. This is not, you know, what you endeavor to create when you create a game and you push this great battle, you know, to the forefront. You say, this is what it's going to be and it's going to be amazing. This is how you fuck it up. I mean, this is embarrassing beyond anything that I've seen recently. I mean, certainly, you know, Star Citizen has its blunders. And, you know, we've seen some of them, you know, kind of recently. But, I mean, think about it. This is the foundation of an entire expansion. This is the spirit, the idea behind an entire expansion. And it has utterly failed. And this is not the only part of the expansion that has failed. And, I mean, to make that video would require a lot more of your time and a lot more of your patience. So, I don't know, maybe someday down the road as a retrospective look, but definitely not right now. But this is it. I mean, this is what happens if you're not careful, if you don't incentivize players to kind of go into battle against one another. And think about it. This is a game without hard asset loss. This is a game without character death. And even with those very, you know, very soft touch rules in place, they're still not bothering. There's no reason for it. Now, the idea of, you know, open world PvP and fighting to the death, certainly in the format of a DayZ or a PUBG, that works because players go in knowing that's what it is. But when you move into the format of a game where you're accumulating things, where you're progressing, where you're moving towards certain goals, you really have to look much deeper into the incentivization of those games, because if one single loss can set you back months or days or hours, there has to be a counterbalance to that. And that's kind of where I want to kind of dip into the Star Citizen thing, which is, if open world PvP in Star Citizen is truly going to be a thing and truly going to succeed, there needs to be a reason. There needs to be a drive that overrides fear, that overrides at times common sense, and pushes players into a universe like that. There has to be a rich reward. Now, if you look into a game, let's say like EVE Online, or at least EVE Online as I knew it when I was playing it, you had a very interesting situation. Whereas you had 0-0 space and you had low security space where PvP generally happened for the most part. I mean, there were incidents in high sec space, certainly some high profile ones, but for the most part, you know, PvP was generally concentrated in 0-0 and in low sec space, and there was a lot of action to be had. But that quickly created a divide within the game where a lot of players who didn't want to go out into 0-0 or into low sec ended up doing, you know, missions for various factions, going all the way up to level 4 missions at the time, and they would just farm those missions endlessly. And that seemed like kind of a boring existence to me. And I mean, certainly I had access to that, but I always kind of wanted to go out into 0-0. I wanted to see the capital ships, I wanted to see the big battles, and that's kind of what I went for. And that was enough of an incentive to draw me out there and eventually getting my own capital ships. But for the average player, you know, there's going to be a question of, is this going to be inconvenient to me? Is this going to be worth it in terms of what I can attain to offset the risks that I'm running? Now, certainly if you overamp the rewards, you can kind of create a situation where it's like, well, you just go into low security space in Star Citizen, and in a week, if you do missions this way, you know, you can be in a Javelin because the rewards are just so great. You can end up kind of going in a direction like that, which is not a direction that you obviously want to go into. But I think that if you have a system like the reputation system that you're describing, and if you balance the rewards out of that correctly, and you drive a lot of that content around heading into the more dangerous parts of space, you can properly incentivize players to kind of go out there and get involved in that, and to see that as a fun and rewarding system. Something that even if they do lose their ship or they get killed, whatever, the rewards attained from doing that, whether it be just in goods that they can trade within the economy or things that they can access through the reputations that they would gain, are so great that, you know, there's a reason to be out there. Maybe it's not something that they can directly sell and make money off of, but it's something that has a different type of value. So, you know, access to certain components which you can only purchase for yourself and that you can't sell on. Something that drives you, that compels you to go out there and to take those chances. The incentives for world PvP for the average player are going to have to be something. I mean, obviously financial rewards could lead to hyperinflation within the game's economy, but there needs to be some form of incentive that overpowers the fear, that overpowers the inconvenience, and makes players go, no, I want to do that because there is something so great at the end of that, whether it's through a myriad of reputations and potential rewards, to perhaps access to equipment that only costs reputation instead of money, that incentivizes players. No, you want to go do this because then you get access to this scanner, this shield, this gun, and you always have access to it. And so that way, even if you do lose your ship, you can go out and equip all this really superior equipment, and it's going to be really great. So you want to kind of go out there and do it, and it is going to be fun for you. You need to think along those lines, because this is the result of a poorly incentivized world PvP system. I mean, here we are in Alliance territory now, and where are the Alliance players? They're not here. I mean, I'm an agent of the Horde invading your territory, and I don't see anybody here. Right? I mean, when you think about Star Citizen, You want there to be confrontations. You want there to be fun space battles. That's why we're all here. But, you know, there's no real combat to be had here, even in the other factions' territory. And that's kind of, well, pathetic. But in case you're wondering, did I actually find an Alliance player? I actually did. And I didn't realize it until after I looked at the footage for this video. There he is, right there. That's right, blink and you miss him. There's an Alliance hunter right there. That's an Alliance character. I found one. Guys, I found one. Amazing. And I didn't even realize this until after I watched the footage. It wasn't until afterwards, editing this video, that I realized that, holy shit, there was an Alliance player there. I mean, I've already completed this quest objective, so I'm just waiting for my Vanish to come off cooldown so I can dip out. I didn't even realize that guy was there. That's how bad it is. Any second now? Yep, I'm just gonna Vanish, continue on with my quests. Because, you know, gotta finish, but that was it. That's World PvP when you don't incentivize it. Something to think about. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.